party. I want to introduce somebody who's just gone outside. So we'll wait for him to come. Professor Stephen Blackmore, CBE, who's the Regius Keeper of the Botanic Gardens and the Queen's Botanist here. And he's done a lot of work, many of you may know, in the way the gardens have worked internationally around conservation and biodiversity conservation, and has done a lot of work developing international partnerships between RBGE and also its international partners. And we're, I think, very happy and pleased that Stephen and the Botanics are hosting us tonight in this beautiful surroundings. So we'd like to ask Stephen to give us a few words of welcome. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much, Paddy. And you'll, of course, since everybody gets to see that I was the man running out to get a glass of wine, I'm going to get my explanation in first and say that Paddy had said he was going to propose a number of toasts. So I'm not going to stand there empty-handed and not participate in that. So that's why I've got my toast. But it's a real pleasure to see so many people here and to have an opportunity to say a few words. And I would just like to start by saying that some of you know RBG very well and been in touch with us over the years in a variety of different roles. But if you don't, besides this beautiful place that it is outside there, just stunning and gorgeous and lovely, and people like to come here, it's also a really important research institute, and actually one of the leading botanic gardens in the world in terms of the combination of scientific research and gardens and visitor attraction. And what we think about the opportunity that we have here in the garden is not just to be typical scientists working away in their lab or their collections or whatever it is, but actually to be able to be in contact with the public. And I love the fact that we've got people allowed in and we can talk to them while they're here. So one of the things we've been focusing on a lot in recent years is how can we influence people in their daily lives so that they think much more about the planet we're living on and the state of the environment and the future. And that, I think, is a growing part of the work of this organisation and something which we're really committed to. Anyway, I don't want to say too much about the botanics. And in fact, I don't want to say too much at all. When I was asked to speak, I realised that absolutely the best thing I can do, especially as they fire up the barbecue, is not talk for very long at all. And I was very grateful to Sophie for sending me some notes on interactions over the years between LTS and RBGE, and I was thinking, right, if I went through even a tenth of that, we'd be here for the evening, because believe me, there have been very many. But the other thing I could share with you is, so 40 years, long time, that's pretty special. Well, as it happens, I had my 40th anniversary this year, ruby wedding. Just a few days after LTS started, I checked, I looked that up, and I'm sure if she was here, Tricia would say that, like myself, 40 years goes by in the blink of an eye. She and I haven't changed in the slightest, and I'm sure that nobody who's worked with LTS has changed at all. And Chris, I gather you're the kind of record holder, and I'm assured you always looked like that.
Yes, I did.
So what can I say after 40 years? Really, I think my role is to congratulate you on being a great and international organisation and all the fabulous things you've done around the world. And in addition to the notes that Sophie sent me, I went onto your website, and I've got some stuff I got off your website that I thought would be really quite good to mention tonight. So
thank you, Sophie, for updating the website.
Oh, it's Sophie's job, isn't it? Well, I found out, for example, that in those 40 years, you've worked in 99 different countries and completed 900 assignments, which is pretty impressive. And I'm very fond of saying that this garden is one of Scotland's most international organisations. And actually, we work in a similar number of countries in total, doing more in some than we do in others. But that's pretty impressive. And now I've realised that that's one of the things we're going to have to share. We are both Scotland's most international. So I found that out. and the many different things that we've worked on. And perhaps one that really I should mention, when I first came to the Garden, I moved to Edinburgh in 1999 and joined in with activities of ECTF at that time. And ECTF had been started in 1991 and I know was a really important initiative. And what struck me when I arrived in Edinburgh and joined in straight away with some ECTF events and activities was how prominent tropical forests were at that time and the kind of the force and energy behind thousands of different initiatives. And I can't for the life of me understand why that isn't even more true today and the more activity. Because we seem to have to remind people that the world's tropical forests need even more attention. And in fact, I have been accused when I talk about tropical forests of people saying to me, "Oh, are you still talking about tropical forests, Steve? That's so 80s or so 90s, and on one occasion even so 70s. Well, you know, I think it's going to be with us as an issue a little bit longer than that. Tropical forests are important, they're not going away. But for me, that was actually a first introduction to some of you, really, from ECTF. Except for one man, who sadly isn't here tonight, because I wanted to be able to say that I worked with Pat Hardcastle in the late 70s, because when he was the head of the Forestry Research Institute in Malawi, I was just down the road as the head of their National Herbarium Collections and Botanic Gardens. And so we knew each other very well back then, and it would have been great to have seen him tonight. So I think in this world, with all of these countries involved, likelihood is if you once went somewhere, you will have met somebody who had something to do with LTS. I think that's how it works out. But in my case, it was Pat. And I want to mention one other incident I remember, and I think this was connected with ECTF, and so I'm sure someone will remember. But we had a visit by Claire Short when she was International Secretary for International Development. And Peter Wilkie from the Garden arranged that in the course of that meeting she'd call in at the Garden as a chance for us to impress her with the important work we'd been doing. And we decided we would focus on Bhutan because the Garden had worked a lot in Bhutan. Anyway, it was the least successful encounter I've ever had with a politician in my life, bar none. Nothing that we told her impressed in any way whatsoever. And I gathered that the rest of the day, and I can see some nodding going on, the rest of the day went downhill. And it was appalling. And I'm standing there saying, now this is an entirely new species of pine tree discovered from Bhutan, thinking that somebody would get excited about an important new timber resource up in the Himalayas. No, not at all. Wasn't interesting. So that was one of the kind of early learning points for me when you realise that even though you know something really important is being done in a place like Bhutan, one of the world's real paradises in some senses, doesn't necessarily mean that you can make a politician understand that that's interesting or worthwhile. Anyway, we've done many other things together as two organisations. I got a list of some countries. I mentioned Bhutan, but we've worked together in Bhutan, various countries in Southeast Asia, especially in relation to tropical forests, but also Venezuela, Chile, and many others. And also something, again, where I was a little bit involved personally was in the monitoring and evaluation for the Darwin Initiative, which was done over many years, and a lot of people in the Garden contributed to reviews there. And as it happens, I've now taken over chairing the Darwin Initiative. And by the way, it was explained to me outside that that means, Leslie told me, that I am now the deck chair.
Yes.
And I didn't know I was the deck chair until a little earlier, but as the chair of the Darwin Expert Committee, I am in fact the deck chair. And I'm committed to getting a canvas suit in blue and white stripes as soon as I can find one. But because I'm the deck chair, I'm going to be working with Ailey and Rebecca and others a lot in relation to the Darwin Initiative. And I probably shouldn't say this, but I will anyway, that one of the things that the deck chair is determined to do is we need more monitoring and evaluation. They've not been doing that in recent years, and I think they should, shouldn't they? Anyway, I'm going to end with my favourite thing I found out from your website, because I looked at our team, And it's in any organisation, it's about people, isn't it? That's really what can make for success, and that's what will have made success in LTS over 40 years. So I read our team, and I clicked on staff associates, and I thought, oh well, that's interesting, I'll click on that. That's where you can find out about Pat and see what Pat Hardcastle's been up to. But there's a little thing which says, where are they now? And I thought, that's good, I'll click on that. I wonder if anybody knows what happens if you do that.
Don't tell me what happened.
You get a blank page except for the words, this is somewhat embarrassing, isn't it? so the fact is,
That's a work in progress.
you've lost them.
Okay, here they are.
You're working in 99 countries. There's bound to be some that don't come back. Perfectly understandable. And nothing to be embarrassed about at all. But I'll just end by saying, and since there were going to be toasts, and since I rushed out to get my glass of wine, I'll put it to good use. And really, congratulations on 40 years. And here's to the next 40.
Thank you very much. Thanks.